Willkommen! We return to another installment of Ancient History. This week's, or this day's, learning is on the region of India, specifically the period and the area known as the Indus Valley. The Indus Valley civilization is cleverly along and alongside of the Indus River in the northwestern area of the region of India, in much of it in the modern day country of Pakistan. It is bordered on the north by the Hindu Kush Mountains and on the east by the Himalayas. It emerges at about the same time as ancient Sumer in Mesopotamia and the Old Kingdom in Egypt. In other words, from about 3000 to 2000 BCE. Much like the others, it shares an importance of rivers for irrigation and agriculture as well as for transportation and trade. We know this because we have found gems and precious metals from the Indus Valley in ancient Mesopotamia, specifically the ancient civilization known as Sumer. We also know that they engaged in clay-baked brick construction of houses and homes, and that the different sizes of the buildings are a good indicator of the classes. Although, as we will see, they apparently had less gap or fewer gaps between the rich and poor because the homes are closer in average size than in some of the larger places like in Egypt and ancient Sumer. Much like the others, geography played an important and crucial role in the development of the Indus Valley civilization, starting with rivers, important for travel, trade, and growing crops, as we said. They are bordered and blocked to the north and east by mountains, and this helps to protect them from invasion, although, as will become clear, not totally. But the other crucial thing about their geography that is different from the other places that we have studied and are going to study are the winds, specifically what are known as the monsoon winds. Here is the spelling, monsoon, monsoon. If you've heard this term, you probably think of it as being wet and rainy and tropical, and that's sort of true for half the year. Technically, the monsoons are different seasonal winds that blow in India, still to the present day. In winter, as you can see up here, the monsoons blow down from the Himalayas and out across India. What this means is it is a dry, cold wind. Then in summer, the winds change direction. You can see here from June through September to blow off of the ocean and across the land. Warm, tropical, wet rains are the general pattern for this season. So again, blowing down off the mountains dry and cold in winter, blowing in off the oceans warm and wet in the summer. This is helpful for growing crops, for planning, and also critically for trade, because for half of the year, a nice steady wind can blow you away from the Indus Valley region across to Africa or up into Mesopotamia, and then as the seasons change, the winds change and can blow you back. And so the winds allow throughout Indian history for a steady, reliable transportation and trade from India to Africa and back. Trade as symbolized by this handy dandy map. Here is the Indus Valley region, including its two major cities, Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. You can see here is the cradle of the Indus Valley, here is the cradle of Mesopotamia, here is the cradle of Egypt, and these brown lines are trade routes that link and connect them. From Here are gold and precious metals traded through these trade routes as well as by sea, as I was just explaining, to Mesopotamia, where there's wood and trees and lumber on the edges. Here in the middle, critically, is bronze, used through mines and minerals up here in Turkey. Over in Egypt is grain as well as paper, known as papyrus. The most notable thing in the Indus Valley is not some giant ziggurat or temple or pyramid. They did not seem to have this monumental architecture that was about the social classes and kings and gods and religion. Instead, their biggest building is called the Great Bath, and it seems to have been sort of a public bathhouse of sorts, to come to hang out as at a spa, perhaps sort of some ritual cleaning, still an important part of Indian culture today. And this gives us a sort of good point of comparison because, yes, they had large building projects, they had bricks, they had architecture, they had roads and streets, but not giant temples or pyramids or palaces for their kings. Instead, they had a giant bathhouse. And that's an interesting point of comparison. Unfortunately, we cannot really speak too much more about this because there are some notable differences. One, the Indus Valley covers a much larger geographic area than either Mesopotamia or Egypt. It also includes more towns and more cities. But much less is known about this region. Quite a few of the towns and cities are still uncovered, in part because of the turmoil in that part of the world today. And critically, most importantly, while they had writing, just like ancient Sumer as well as the Old Kingdom of Egypt, we still cannot translate it. We have found their writing. We know it existed, but we don't know what they were saying. And so all we have are some buildings and some roads and some bricks and structures, but we cannot read their writing. We don't even know if they had kings or any type of hierarchy. They clearly had a government because they are organized and structured and have streets and roads, but we don't know what kind of government. We have found no palaces, no royal tombs, a la the pyramids, or even any monuments to some kings or rulers. They also appear not to have been particularly warlike because we have not found any real documentary evidence of invasions or wars or any real weapons. Another notable difference is that they had indoor plumbing long before any other part of the world had it in any way, shape, or form. Again, this is 2,000 years before Rome had anything of the sort. Here is the sort of foundation of a home or building, and here is a slot where the waste of people going to the bathroom could be pulled down through gravity and out through a drain. Again, this is a very handy advancement, especially compared to other towns and cities of this time. Here's the archaeological remains of the town and city today. Here is an artistic recreation. Again, walls, towns, roads, cities, and buildings, many of them sort of a similar size. No pyramids, no temples, no monuments, but they did indeed have indoor plumbing. We will return to this region later to talk about a different ancient Indian civilization, the rise of Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism. Until then, goodbye.